what's going on, guys?
Hello, hello. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great, man. Loving the hat.
Thank you.
You didn't cut your glorious hair, did you?
Oh, we did.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, man, you got some killer hair. Don't shave that off.
No, it's not shaved, but I definitely had it longer. The COVID cut, though.
Yeah, man.
And I was old and long hair on. Once you hit 40, it just feels different.
You're right. You're absolutely right. It's awesome to see, man. I'm glad you could jump on here. I know everyone's excited to hear your sample reading. I was bragging on you earlier, too. I think you just got one of the best voices out there for narration. So I'm really glad that you're working with us, man. So
yeah, maybe Audible should put you in the Hall of Fame or something.
Yeah, maybe. I agree.
It's kind of nice. I got in the Hall of Fame, and then all the craziness happened. So they haven't done any other induction. So I'm like, This is good. I think we're good with just this group.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to read today. It's going to be fun. This is a great little selection from Crack the Sky that you picked too. So lots of dialogue and fun stuff. No spoilers, but real good.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be nice and funny.
Well, the whole book's fun. So you could have just dropped a penny and found wherever it landed,
True. But no, man. So are you in your studio right now, Luke?
This is the studio. This is it. There's not much to see.
Yeah.
It's only 4x6.
Uh-huh.
It's a modular thing called Studio Bricks from Barcelona, and they are amazing little booths. They do just what I need. I've had to take it apart several times, put it back together. I love it. Although you got to make sure you get the ventilation. That's always my.
I was about to ask.
Yeah. I cranked it up all the way, and then I went to my editors and was like, "We can work with this, right? Because I have to have as much ventilation as possible." And they're like, "Yeah, it's fine."
So is it like a pod you put in a room, or is it separate from your house?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I got a what I call the studio, and then this is the booth inside the studio.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's fascinating, man. That kind of stuff always blows my mind when I see the narrator studios, or I see any kind of home video equipment where they're doing
we all have to become very tech savvy, and anybody that is not tech savvy like me, it can be a very scary, dark place.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have good friends who know what to do, and I can always call them and be like, "Why is it doing this?"
Yeah, no, it blows my mind. I've tried to get a camera for this, and I've got a nice camera. I've got all these connections. I'm missing the one connection I need, so I just have to use the laptop. And it's like, damn it, I got all this stuff, and I still don't understand it. So it blows my mind, man.
Yeah, we're good. It's good though. And this little booth has seen a lot of hours. I mean, I've probably recorded 400 books in this little space. So
that's crazy.
Not just books either, huh?
Are you
American Dad?
American Dad.
Nice.
Although I don't know how any of that stuff works. So I did an episode where I played a couple characters, and then a while went by and we kind of reached out and we're like, "So do you know when that episode might be on?" And they're like, "Oh, probably not even till next season." I was like, "Oh, so they get stuff so soon," which is I thought that was interesting.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Except for South Park, most animations take 6 months to animate at least.
That's what they were saying. So if we had recorded it a few months ago, they wouldn't even get it until the end of the year.
That's crazy. I guess I thought they were a lot more on point, just with some of the jokes and stuff, that you'd assume it's a lot more timely and responsive.
Well, the jokes that they hired me for were one was a video game narrator guy.
Okay.
But it's funny, they're on point right now for these video game, the surge of that. But then the jokes within that, the creator of the show is an audiobook listener.
Okay.
And he'd heard me through a lit RPG series that I did, and then hired me that way. But he's like, it's interesting because it is current right now. Those things are cool but they're very niche, and so just lucked out. So
Are you talking about Off to Be a Wizard?
Yeah, no, he heard Halloran Long's new series. He wrote The Land, and then he's got a new series called God's Eye, and he listened to that. So
that's crazy. Small world, man.
Hey, we have Justin Leslie with us.
Hey, Justin.
Oh, did he jump in here?
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
For those of you who don't know, Luke also reads Justin's books, the Max Abaddon series. So make sure you check that out. But for those of you who are joining us, we're we have obviously Luke Daniels here. Is going to do a live reading from the upcoming book, Crack the Sky, which we are doing a simultaneous release. So at 8/23, you'll be able to get the ebook and the audiobook at the same time. And pre-orders for the audiobook should go live hopefully on 8/9, so 2 days from now. We'll include a link whenever that goes live, of course, so you can pre-order it and give some love. But we'll also take some questions too for maybe after the reading. So if you guys want to put them in the comment, we can do that. But man, Luke, it's awesome having you on again. I know you are incredibly busy with your TV shows and all your books and stuff.
I keep a little busy. Yeah, I try not to go. I've been doing a lot of gardening this summer. That's been my relationship. I have to do things very outside of this little container. If you guys are writers, so you work in this headspace so much, something physical is needed. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to read from Crack the Sky. It was a lot of fun. This one, they just keep hitting. I mean, you've cranked out so many in such a short span of time, and they all just the stakes keep upping and upping and upping and upping and upping. Like, I don't know how he keeps going, but just unintended. Like on. That's the only way you can do it. You just
unintended.
It definitely helps to have all 13 takes has to have all 13 planned, and you two are one of the few people on this planet who know the ending and the surprises we got coming along the way. So that makes it a lot easier for you to do your job because people are going to listen to this series more than once. That's for sure.
Right. You get Stepweg is actually Spider-Man. Is that the ending you're talking about?
He gets those tights.
Hello.
Moonlight Spider-Man this entire time. A wolf spider. All right. So should I in here? Are we ready?
Yeah, let's go ahead. So
I'm ready to be
we have a chapter that's not a spoilery chapter. For those of you who read the synopsis of Crack the Sky, you already know what's going on if you're caught up. If you're not caught up, there's not too much in here. Minor spoilers, if any, but it's more just funny dialogue showing, John being John. So
we've got
take it away.
And we've got Gabriel, and we've got Jose, 3 characters that have been in other books before, but they're kind of trying to figure out what the next steps are. So,
and for those of you who haven't checked out book 3.5, Moonlight Equilibrium, that one was a one-off that didn't have. Why did my camera shut down? Anyway, coming back on. So Moonlight Equilibrium was a one-off. It was my attempt at a horror novel, which I liked it a lot, actually. And then, of course, my camera doesn't work. But we had it narrated by Joel Richards because it didn't star any of the main characters. But now Jose, if you've read that book, Jose makes a return in this one. So it's a good continuation, and you get to see a different side of the character. And Luke just does a crazy good job. So I guess, you go and take it away while I try and get this stupid camera to work.
Okay.
Shayne, you're not the only one with problems.
Black hole? Did you say black hole? I gracefully inquired. You want to take us? My index finger rapidly flicked between Jose and myself like a metronome on crack. To a freaking black hole? Glancing at Jose, I was surprised to see a stoic face regarding Gabriel. The black hole at the center of this galaxy is how you'll travel backward in time. The angel explained nonchalantly. It was built...
I think you cut out on us, man.
I just had a spam risk phone call. Sorry. But thankfully, they tell us these things now. My bad.
Gotcha.
All right. The black hole at the center of this galaxy is how you will travel backward in time. The angel explained nonchalantly. It was built for angels to travel anywhere we were needed without the constraints of pesky details. Like freaking time? I blurted with eyes bulging. If I tried to explain everything to you, the fat inside your skull would simply melt from the strain of attempting to comprehend the impossible. Hey! I called out, my index finger lifting to point to my noggin. My brain is buff, baby. No fat in this here skull. I'm quite sure that you are right, Gabriel responded with a completely straight face. Damn right, I mumbled, looking down at my feet as I kicked a pebble away. Jose spoke up. If the gateway is for angels, and Jonathan here, it's just John. John, then. Jose corrected himself before turning back toward Gabriel. How do you expect me to go through a door made for angels with a crystal made by a fairy? Not just any fairy, I added with a finger lifted for accentuation, but the king of the fairies. That dude is like super good at what he does. Jonathan is right, Gabriel threw out with a smile I could hear in his voice. Jerking my face in his direction, I could see him stifling the smirk I had heard while I shifted the finger that was already held up to point at the funny man. Gabriel continued. The purpose of the crystal is to protect the wearer from alternating forces of time caused by plane shifting. Ooh, you mean like gravity boots in space? Both Jose and Gabriel arched an eyebrow at me. You know, like in sci-fi movies and stuff. No matter if they're in low to no gravity, their boots help keep them on the ground or deck or whatever. Gabriel began, considering my example. That's actually not bad. Ha! Jumping self high five, I called out, doing a little leap in the air to basically clap my hands above my head. So what happens if I lose this rock? Jose asked, rotating the crystal between thumb and forefinger. It's Dean Norris. Oh, that's Hank Schrader I gotta do. He's just angry all the time, so it's a mineral, damn it, I said in my best Dean Norris impression. When no one acknowledged my quote, I added, Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad? No? That's where things get interesting. Gabriel began with a long inhale of contemplation, completely ignoring my television trivia. You will be the first non-celestial being to travel through time, and with no armor to help protect you. My guess would be if you lose the crystal, you will be trapped in time. I spoke up. You're saying that if he loses the crystal in, say, 1975, that'll, become his new now? I'm not entirely sure. It could be that he might appear right back where he is. It could be that he might appear right back here at the moment you handed him the crystal in the first place. What I do know is he does not want to take the necklace off while traveling through time. Good advice, I helpfully confirmed, with an accompanying gulp. Anything else? I mean, we should know. As a matter of fact, there is. Gabriel spoke in a serious tone, locking eyes with me to make sure I absorbed his words. The past has already happened, and there is nothing you can do to change it. What do you mean? Isn't Depweg lost somewhere in time? I mean, wouldn't that suggest things have changed? At least for him? Let me rephrase. There's nothing you can do to change it, John. The armor you wear, along with the angelic composition of both your body and soul, will mean, in all probability, that the laws of time will affect you in precisely the same way as it does to me or any of my brothers. I don't understand. We believe it to be a fail-safe, father-installed, allowing angels to traverse throughout time at will, but only as observers. Why does it matter? Time is a powerful river running in one direction, and our universe is a boat steadily moving downstream. For the sake of both argument and your own limited comprehension, let's set the foundation that there is only one boat upon one river. So no multiverse? Like with Marvel? Shucks, I playfully lamented while snapping my fingers. I really wanted to meet other versions of me. Oh, like Zombie John, or Metal John, or Bat John. Yeah, I'd totally keep the beard, though, even if it made it easier for people to guess who I was under the mask. John, please focus. It is of utmost importance that you understand what I'm trying to tell you. Right, okay. Neat. Words spilled out of my mouth as I shifted on unsure feet while my hands tried to locate a comfortable position. Neat. Neat, 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 neat. Arms crossed before uncrossing and falling to my sides, where hands explored pockets before pulling out again and grabbing my hips. Time is a river that cannot be changed by you. If you are standing on a sidewalk in the year 2000 and a jogger passes where you happen to be, you might very well explode. Well, nothing would happen to the person, not even a bruise or red mark. So you must be conscious of everything going on around you. Jose chimed in with, "What if it rains?" "Excellent question," Gabriel admitted, impressed. "What about it?" I asked, looking back and forth between the two, shifting my arms into an awkward pose that looked like I was getting ready to do a photo shoot for my first hip-hop album, which I'm pretty sure is this. "Raindrops are made of water, right?" Jose asked, glancing at my ridiculous stance before shifting back to Gabriel. "Oh!" I let out as my hands dropped back to my sides. "If I'm standing in the way of the water, it could obliterate me like the jogger," I thought on my own words for a millisecond. Hey, wait a sec. Why am I excited about that? Ignoring my last question, Gabriel addressed the real concern. The armor will protect you from natural phenomena such as air displacement, wind, rain, and even walking and interacting with stationary materials such as metals or concrete. It is the will of man and all living creatures that you will be unable to contend with. If someone wants to drive down the road, I can't interact with their will, and I'll explode if I try. Neat. Not just driving, John. You need to pay attention to where people walk, birds fly, and because you love puppies so much, even watch out where they might play. And before you ask, creatures smaller than a tennis ball shouldn't be a threat with your armor, though you'll still be aware of their presence. Whoa. I breathed out, taking off my beanie and running a free hand through my black hair. Why did movies never cover this? Seems pretty damn important. This is real, John. There are laws you must abide by even as an angel, for all intents and purposes. I would actually recommend staying within the boundaries of the in-between until you've located Depweg. Oh, good idea, I agreed enthusiastically, not being too keen on exploding. But wait, how will I get Depweg back once I find him? And while we're at it, how the hell do I find him? Do I just wander the earth from a certain point of time and search for him like I'm trying to find the last parking spot at the mall during Christmas? Because I hate that. Are malls still around? Jose asked. No, not really, I sighed, raising my arms to the air before dropping them to slap against my sides. But my point remains the same. Turning back to Gabriel, I asked again, how are we going to find him? This isn't going to be like finding a needle in a haystack. It'll be more like finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks. We will need a part of him. What? Like his teeth? I actually think Locke might have a few spares left. What about his blood? Jose asked, drawing my attention. What about it? I asked, looking the wearer up and down. I don't see you with any containers of the stuff. I am the container. Woo! Crack the sky!
Nice. Oh, there he is.
Nah, I just switched my phone. For some reason, my camera USB isn't charging the way it should be. Yeah, I don't know. Technology, man. What can you do? But roll with the punches. So always got the phone.
There you go. No, that was awesome, Luke. I love that,
Thanks, man. Thank you. Fun stuff. I love all the time theory. That's always fun to get into, especially with characters like that. It's so much better than just some sort of narrative of blah, 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 blah. We've got the characters figuring it out at the same time. So that's really fun. Yeah.
It's like instead of a TED Talk, you're getting a much more realistic version of how people would talk about it. And
right, one person has the information and he's only giving some of it, and they're trying to figure it out. There's a lot going on. So kudos to you, man, Hunter. Good job. I love this stuff.
Thank you.
Keep it coming.
Actually, I did a lot of research. The reason why this book took so long, took me the longest more than any other book, is all the research that I did. Like, I made sure that everything that happens in here is technically, theoretically possible. To do that, you know, I could have just been like, John cast a spell and now he's back in time, but you know, I didn't want to do that for myself. I wanted to make it scientifically accurate. So I came up with a different method of time travel that I hadn't seen before, which is the black hole acting as a Klein bottle, which is what this is.
Uh-huh.
So a Klein bottle. So there's an entrance there, and then the entrance goes up through. And then so the phone's backwards, and then so basically there's one entrance and there's one side, so you can go basically anywhere. Versus a Mobius strip is linear. This you can go anywhere. So the black hole is this representation. So I actually had a commissioned a 3D printed one just to show the people at home, like, this is what a Klein bottle actually is. There's no beginning and no ending, and that's how they use the black hole to traverse time, which is really badass. But also I wanted to make it different too with what Gabriel was telling, you know, John about the rules. You know, you can't interact, because here's the thing. There's something called the Shakespeare Paradox, which is if you went back in time and you gave Shakespeare all of his work, who wrote it? You know, did Shakespeare write it because you gave it to him, which means you could have gave it to him before, and then he had to write it to give it to you. So it's a whole paradox thing. So I wanted there to be same thing with the grandfather paradox, which is if you went back in time and killed your grandfather, that means your father would never be born, which means you would never be born, which means you could not go back in time to then kill your grandfather. So it becomes a paradox. So I wanted to actually come up with a different way of rules to explain time travel, and that's why I came up with you know, if a dog approaches you, get out of the way, because it already happened and you can't change the past. So that was actually a whole lot of fun, but this was the most technically difficult book that I've written, but it's also really theoretically accurate, which is I'm very, very proud of. I had a lot of fun.
And it makes sense the way that you break it down, especially with them, you know, in dialogue. But to me, it ticks boxes where the logic is there to follow through on, and we're not wondering, wait, what? How's this happening? And the stuff with him in space is really fun. So I won't give anything away, but that is fun.
That is also theoretically accurate as well. How he does what I know you're talking about.
Right.
So the whole premise of it, I had a lot of fun with this book, but at the same time, after I was done, I had to take some time off. Like, I didn't do anything. I just, you know, slept and then watched movies and just relaxed as much as possible, because I really did. I fried my brain on this one. I worked really hard.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end to wrap it up. But it's done. It's
great too. Yeah.
But I think it's really cool too how you kind of took the Stan Lee approach, where you don't just say it happened because they can. You know, there's a reason, and it's understandable, or at least somewhat relatable. So like Thor flying, he swings his hammer and the momentum helps carry him, whereas Superman just tries harder, you know, like it's not really doing anything. And so Stan Lee always tried to take that approach, where there's some kind of scientific justification to what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I think that's cool.
Rules, then they can be broken, and then there's stakes. But if you don't have any rules, it's no fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, the whole series is explained scientifically. You know, even in the book one, why vampires need blood. You know, I came up with what made sense to me, and you know, how the wizards and mages and warlocks and, you know, all these different subclasses, and, just everything. I wanted it to be based very much in reality as much as possible, which was hard to do. I remember in book 6, Holy Shioli, with going back and forth with my editor because of the plane shifting and going to the in-between, and well, if John could do it this way, why didn't he do it back then? I'm like, you know, there's so much to it, you know, especially Sheol. I don't think anyone's ever, that I've seen, ever written Sheol before, so I had to come up with the landscape and the rules and what happens out of nowhere, which was a lot of fun. But they're, once you come up with the rules, they're kind of set in place.
Yep.
You have to follow through with it.
And then you got to remember later that you don't break your own rules.
Right. Yeah.
For Fabiola, my editor she remembers that stuff that I forget. And every single book, she catches like 1 to 2 major continuity things that people would have been like, wait a sec. So I'm so thankful that she catches that stuff, and she keeps really detailed notes and really helps keep me grounded. And she's saved me from making so many little mistakes that, I like to say that as a writer, we're looking at the story from 20,000 feet up.
Yep.
Just the details that, some other people can see from 10 feet up.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes the other way around too. Sometimes we can't see the forest through the trees because we're so close to the situation. We forget about the big rules up here. So it happens both ways. You're right.
It's the same with the audio recording. We have editors that listen through, and then you guys listen through, and it's amazing to me how many mistakes but just that you don't catch it when you're in the middle of it. And so it's always, you have to have people watching your back so that you can get it right.
Yeah, it blows my mind trying to think of your job, because as a dad, when I read to my kids, I'm like trying to make the story interesting, distinguish the voices from each other. And I'm like, man, this is hard. It's like, so thinking about you writing, or reading complex things with a lot of characters, it's just mind blowing to me.
It's a different headspace. You kind of go to that place. And then I come out and try to talk to real people. And like, is there a script? What do I say?
Hey, Shayne, can you ask the question? On my phone, I can't really see it.
Oh yeah. How do you come up with the voices? So this one's for Luke. Maybe both of you.
No, it's obviously for Luke.
Okay.
Well, but I mean, I think it's based on what Hunter writes. So if he writes it as a big gruff werewolf, I'm going to tell you that he's probably got a maybe deeper, unless there's a joke there. You know what I mean? Yeah. There could be. People don't always sound like what they look like. In fact, they rarely do.
Rarely. Yeah.
So a lot of it's balance. So I don't want 18 gruff sounding guys in the same scene. What are you doing? That's boring. So a lot of variation of pitch and range. And looking at it, like, what's the character's motivation? Like, John is always kind of uncomfortable, I feel like, and he's trying to like make jokes, and he's not really comfortable. So he's got that kind of like trying too hard, and I think that should come out in his voice. And he likes, in my mind, he likes to sound like a person from Texas, so he plays that up, and sometimes it's thicker and sometimes it's less, because again, he's almost not comfortable in his own skin, so he kind of very deep, you know what I mean? Serious, deep, kind of threatening, but also funny and dry. A wit that's there, that's not just all anger and whatever. And so that, and then a lot of it's mouth placement and breath, and then pacing and rhythm. So John speaks really fast a lot of times, but he'll stop and kind of draw it out. So he's got that kind of, where Gabriel, everything is a very perfect sentence. He says everything the exact way that it should be said, because he's an angel. So I thought, well, he's probably really good at talking and really good at that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that he's and it's written that way, very clear and analytical. And I use the same voice for Gabriel that I use for one of the characters in Justin Leslie's book, because they're similar to that, written that way. And I just find it really conveys well of that kind of authoritarian, by the books kind of guy. So yeah, it's based on what they've got. And then also making sure that it's balanced so that the people talking, you're easily identifiable.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
And then I listen to people and steal stuff all the time.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Do you have like a catalog, like a library of which character sounds which way, like little snippets? So
in my head, pretty much they're all there. Although there's times where I'll forget about a character, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot about that guy. I haven't cast it for a while, and so I'll bring in or a voice, not a character, but just a voice I've used.
Yeah.
And I like that voice, but I haven't used that for a while. Where can I fit that in? Oh, this little gnome would be perfect for that voice. So they kind of percolate around.
Yeah.
Not very organized. Some people do have good stuff with that.
I'm the same way. I'm chaotic. I should have all these character descriptions saved somewhere. I don't. I have to go back and look for them later. So.
Well, with the searchable script, it's a lot easier because, for instance, if there's a character 2 of Preternatural Chronicles shows up in book 5, I first say, Hunter, who the fuck is this guy? And Hunter says he was in book 2. So then I go to book 2 and I find it and I pull up the timestamp and I can listen to what I did. And I go, Hunter, I don't like what I did. Can we change it? And he's like, no, we're the same. To have access to you guys to try to clarify, because I do that a lot with Richard Fox, because I've done, multi-verse, 30, 40 books over different, for a decade.
Yeah.
So I'm always sending him something like, was so-and-so in any of the books? And he's like, nope, they die the next chapter, so don't worry about it.
Throwaway voice, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So we've got Luke. Do you read the whole book before you start to record, or record as you read?
No, I used to. The first 3 years of work, 3 to 4 years, I was religious about highlighting and reading it and stuff, and doing all the work. But now, because I work from home, for one, and I'm not in a studio where there's a director and an engineer all expecting you to have everything ready so they're not wasting their time. Now I can be a little more slow in my process. I can send a note off to Hunter and say, who is this character? Most of the authors I work with know that and give me some sort of like little character heads up. And I do what's called a cold read, but I don't, it's one of those things in the industry that's looked down on, which fine, because you really do need to do the work ahead of time. But after 700 books and the way the schedule is, I can't read and do it. So, and then I can also do, if I do a chapter and I'm starting to go, oh, who's this new character? I'll spend 10 minutes skimming ahead, figuring out who's going and what's going on. And then I go back and do it. So I do read ahead, but I like having it fresh so that I'm always surprised by my spur of the moment choices. And I'm always kind of bored by the stuff that I plan out ahead of time. And I'm like, okay, this is it becomes so cerebral. As a performer, I like being, and as you read, that's what a good author does, is you're kind of formulating these characters as you read about, who's this guy? What's he about? He seems kind of like a dick. Oh, he's actually nice. He's understood, so I think it lends an immediacy to it. But yeah, that's it's one of those things. A lot of people are like, oh.
Well, I think it makes it more organic too, like you're saying, just more genuine.
Yeah.
When you're reacting as you read. I mean, you just might have to read ahead a little bit, but
or I have to go back and fix it because I'm like, what's happening now? And I go back and do the paragraphs over. So
well, if it makes you feel any better, I write basically the same way. I know the ending,
right?
But I've tried to plan out the chapter by chapter what happens, but John goes off and does his own thing. So, on the next book, I know what's going to happen. I know like the middle and the end, but I don't know the middle parts. So I just start writing, and then I watch the characters unfold and do what they would do organically. So it's the same way. I don't plan it out. It just happens, and it works out really authentically. I like to say.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, because you're saying you're doing tons and tons of research and marinating on all of it. And then you're also allowing some of that spontaneity of like, well, if John wants to go fight a gargoyle, he can go fight a gargoyle. So I think the combination of the two is what pays off in a good story.
That's awesome. What's your biggest pet peeve when dealing with an author? Like, what's one thing that always, maybe, and I'm not asking you to talk.
I don't really.
But just in general.
There's nothing there. No, I've done books before where you can tell it's just filler. A lot of the time, the description and stuff is just, they need a word count, and so it doesn't really impact what's happening in it.
Yeah.
There's times where it's cheesy, poorly written dialogue, but I'm really lucky in the most of the stuff I do. I think maybe when I first started out, I did a little less. But now I really, they're good authors and they write well and they have talent and they're all different and have a good voice. And that's all that you need. My biggest pet peeve is the word chapter. I hate the word chapter, always have. The way it comes out of my mouth every time makes me want to just punch the screen. So yeah, when I wrote my own memoir, I did it in parts specifically because I didn't want to say chapter in my
nice.
So yeah, that's and classed is a hard word, but I've gotten pretty good at it.
It's gotta keep practicing.
I actually talked to Shayne, and he made me put in more chapters, or he not put in more, but shorten them up. to
Yeah.
because apparently that's what readers like is the pacing, so they feel
Yeah.
accomplished and stuff. So I think I started that around.
No, I know yours
book
were like
7.
chapter 67, and I'm
Oh
like,
God, yeah.
yeah.
I hate it too. But it's readers do tend to prefer just like smaller chunks so they can go to bed, but then you got to end it in cliffhangers. So it's
that
too.
makes it hard. Yeah, and I like reading it that way. A chapter's always like a breath. You know what I mean? So if it's a 2-hour chapter, that's you're doing it over a day. You're like, is this ever going to end? You need some of that.
It's mentally exhausting, even though it's the same amount of words. It's just you put more heavy weight on it. But so Blain had a question up a second ago, and I think he took it down when I broke the rule and asked my own question. Oh, there you go. Any names? This is from Gene Jeffries. Any names you just can't pronounce, no matter how hard you try?
No, that's a really good question. Somebody's thinking hard. I've gotten pretty good at most of them. I think if there's names that maybe like go into my more nasal Midwestern tone, it's hard. Like if there's a character named Anne said, because I automatically just shoot right into my nose from all my Michigan.
Yeah, same Minnesota, Michigan. And
the other one is Jack. If the character's name is Jack, throughout the whole book it's going to be da 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 da. Jack asked.
Yes.
Like every time I'm thinking Jack asked.
Yeah, there you go.
Jack asked, and make it sound like Jack asked, but not like I'm really hitting Jack asked, because then you're really thinking he's trying to avoid saying Jack asked. So that one's always kind of like, why? No, let's call him John. John.
That is crazy. That's something. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter.
I think after he read Kevin Hearn's Iron Druid, he could pronounce anything.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, you get it a few times. It's a really good question, because there are things that surprise you where it's just a name or a word that's maybe used throughout a book, and I'll never ever get it right. You know what I switched recently? Here's a little
Gladius.
Yeah, because I'd gotten shit about it, and I looked it up, and you can say either,
both
but
ways.
I'd heard it first that way, and then but then the more I thought about gladiator, gladius, it would make more sense. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. In this book, it's gladius. And I'm sorry if anyone has a problem. I learned something. Okay. All right.
No, you're right. Actually, whenever I was listening, I did notice, because I always just say gladius.
Yeah.
And then my buddy Colin Baker, who's also in the books, he listens to the books too, because he travels a lot, and he was like, is it gladius or gladius? It was like, you know what, after the first book, whenever Luke said that, I went and looked it up, and you're right, it is technically correct both ways. So I was like, whatever, I'll just let it go. So you could say it either way, and it works. There
was one that I made the mistake of that with my books, and it was the Spear of Longinus. That's how I thought you say it, but it's Longinus. And so to me, it's the most, like, I never would have used the word. Like, I just never want to use it again. So I changed it to the Spear of Destiny. Everyone just calls it that now, because I'm like, I don't want to ask the narrator to keep saying Longinus.
Yeah. Well, Ray Porter did that in the Bobiverse. I love that. Well, now there's 4 books, but it was a trilogy. In book 1, there was a character called his name's Archimedes. Like the I forgot what the guy was, but he called him Archimedes, and we're all like, what? But then in book 2 and 3, it's Archimedes, and we're like, oh, okay. McLeod Andrews did that, and Richard Kadri's Sandman Slim. I think he called it Kishi, and then it was Kisi for the alien race. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I always look at it, even if it changes, if something was done in one book and then it's new in the next, you're really just trying to serve that book's story, right? How each episode has to be its own full episode. Mm-hmm. It feels like that, of like, if this is the best serving for it, then if it's different than I did before, take your lumps and just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, obviously I was cool with it. I didn't mention it because I looked up before, and I was like, it's right either way. Doesn't bother me. Let's keep going.
And important. In the next book, it's going to be yawn with a soft J. Just so you know, I'm going to change it. Yeah.
Well, on that note, don't you throw him curveballs, Hunter? Don't you specifically play pranks on him?
He puts my name in the book all the time. So then I have to be like narrating it, and then I'm like Luke Daniels, and I'm like wink, wink, nod, nod. Oh.
I'm waiting for one of the bloopers to end up where you go, as good as the Luke Daniels. Well, God damn it, Hunter. I just have to do it. It's fun.
Oh, I think it's fun. I think the fans like it.
Oh yeah,
that wink, and it's perfect for John. So there is no fourth wall for John. Yeah, it does not exist.
He has shattered that thing into dust.
I think that's hilarious. I love that. When I heard about that, I was like, that's awesome.
I had another author that they had a character named like Sir Lucas Danvies or Davies or something like that, and I was like, okay, nod. It's very nice. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I don't know. I think we've got a couple minutes left. Maybe not. I'm not sure what the schedule is here.
Yeah, 4 minutes. So yeah, I guess we should probably wrap it up. So we got. Thank you, Luke Daniels, for taking time from your busy schedule to be here. And don't forget, guys, Crack the Sky is going to release on both ebook and audiobook together, same day.
Yes,
August 23rd. And pre-orders, according to Audible, pre-orders for the audiobook should be up in 2 days. But we'll see. Audible and ACX are they're interesting to work with. So as long as it comes out the same day as the ebook, we'll be happy, because I know Shayne and I were talking about wanting to do this, and Luke mentioned it too. So we all had the same idea.
Yeah,
we're making it happen.
I have to get it to this point, so it's not that easy. Like, it took a lot of trying to get stuff going. So I think it's pretty cool.
It's cool, and it's hard, man. There's so many moving pieces and people and scheduling and conflicts, and this checklist has to happen here, and if it doesn't, it bumps it a week. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. So I think we got it. It's looking good. So
me too.
But yeah, that's the goal. But
yeah,
no, it's awesome picking your brain, man. I like the whole audiobook section, and just narrating in general just blows my mind. I didn't realize how much went into it until my first narrator asked me questions like, hey, what does this sound like? How do you pronounce this? And I was like, I don't know, do your job. Like, like I just assumed they knew everything that was in my head. I didn't realize I do have to explain that. That's a good point. And then I started reading to my kids, and it's like, man, this is really hard, like, to make sure the voices are different and keep their interest. And it's mind blowing. So kudos, man.
You could impress them if you pick the book ahead of time. I'll narrate it, and then just stick your phone under their pillow and mouth the words. They'll be like, Daddy, that's amazing.
He's amazing. And why do you sound different when you read books? Don't worry about it. That's awesome.
You don't sound like Daddy.
All right, man. Well, yeah, so Crack the Sky. We're going to be posting the link for that. And like I said, I think it's August 9th, right? I think that's when the pre-order goes live, hopefully. So August 23rd is the actual release, but you should be able to pre-order soon. So exciting.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everybody.